Hey everyone, it's Nadia from LiaDia Designs and I'm back with another tutorial. So today we have a few things to discuss. There was something specific that happened that led me to today's tutorial and I wanted to talk about it a little bit. Um, I'm sure, as a resin artist and, for you guys who are resin artists as well, you know that there are many different ways to pigment your resin. So generally speaking, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I use mica powder is like my number one. And then I also use pigment pastes for special techniques and resin dyes and things like that. Once in a while, and really it was only for like if I wanted something, pure white or something pure black, I would use acrylic paint. Now, and it always worked really well, so I had no issues with it. But so this weekend, or I guess last weekend, I decided I wanted to consider using more acrylic paints in my resin to kind of see if I can get some different types of coloring, definitely more matte coloring and things like that, because with micas, obviously they're pearlescent, so you're always going to get kind of that shimmery look, which is what I love for pretty much everything that I do. And then some pigment paste, you can definitely get more matte colors as well. But I was thinking, what if we can utilize acrylic paints? Because I know that's popular. It's a more economical option and things like that. So anyway, so my daughter and I went to the store, picked up a bunch of acrylic paints, and I came home and decided to there was like two colors I wanted to try and then see how they turned out. So anyways, I wasn't really thinking at all that there would be any issues with it. I just kind of was like, yeah, put some acrylic paint, no problem. So what ended up happening is I decided to use, these are the first two colors that I decided to use. And I'm not, this video isn't about, knocking any brands. I just want to show my experience of what happened. So these are the two colors that I wanted to use. So one's just a slate gray and one's a blush pink. So I said, okay, I want to try those. When I put these in the red, well, and again, I don't know what causes it, but when I put them in my resin and left it to cure, these are the colors I ended up with. So you can see that the pink completely changed colors. You can even see this bit of paint here. It's completely different than what it turned out like in the resin. This one, same thing. It's, you can see the colors actually, I guess when you look at it, well, there you go. If you look at it this way, this gray is a much lighter gray than what we have here. So now I don't have any explanations of why. So if you out there have explanations of why, feel free to leave it in the comments. Let me know, why did this happen with this paint? Now, I'm going to make an assumption. It's going to have something to do with how this particular paint is constructed, like how they make this particular paint, whether it's emulsifiers or different things in it. Maybe there's something that just doesn't react well with resin. I don't know. Like I said, so any of you that have maybe looked into this a bit more, let me know. So anyway, so these are the colors I ended up with, and I was not happy with them. I wanted to definitely get something closer to what was in the bottle. So, so basically that's where this whole thing started. And I wasn't planning to make a video on it. I was just going to mess around with it, considering it a fail, pour, and I was going to see what I can do just to kind of use the coasters, as test pieces for something else. So that's pretty much where I started. So what I ended up doing is I just painted them. I was like, well, I really want the colors that are on this bottle, on these bottles, so I'm just going to paint them. So I took literally just a paintbrush, took the paint, put it on here, painted it on, let it dry. Like you can, if you look at it closely, I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up, but you can actually see the line. Oh, this one you can see it. You can see the lines of the paintbrush just putting on. And obviously you can sponge it or roll it or whatever else. Acrylic paint sticks fine to resin for this type of purpose. So however you want to, if you wanted to paint directly on your resin, this is an option for you. But so anyway, so I was doing this and then I was kind of like, well, I don't know. I just painted it and I'll see whatever comes out of that later. So that's where I was. Now, so from here, a couple things, a couple ideas I had. So and we'll discuss more about the acrylic paints later in the video. I just kind of want to show you why I am here with these colors and this whole tutorial that I came up with. So I still think we're coming up with something really nice at the end of the day with this. It's just, I wanted to let you know how we got here. So I have these painted, and obviously they're nice and dry. There is texturing in here, which I don't hate. I think it's fine. If we wanted to get more of a flat texture, we probably have to do more of almost like a pour on top to kind of give it a flat texture. But I was just, like I said, messing around, so I just brushed it on. Okay, so now that I've kind of explained how we got here, let me get the rest of my materials and we'll get started. Okay, so now that we have these coasters and they're looking pretty nice. I mean, they're looking as nice as they can be right now. But so what I wanted to do is I had bought these leaves a long time ago and just was waiting for an opportunity to use them. So I bought these off Amazon. And I think they're called skeleton leaves. Yeah, so I will, if I can find the link again, I'll put it in the description under this video. So these are, I think they're called skeleton leaves for obvious reasons. And I bought this color, it's kind of like I don't know, an ambery kind of color. So, or sandstone, I don't know, because it's kind of a darker color, so like a brownish. And so I bought them, and I bought this color specifically because A, it was easy to find on Amazon, and B, I wasn't planning to necessarily keep it this color, but it was kind of a neutral color that I knew that I would be able to kind of change a color if I choose to. So anyway, so my idea is that I'm going to use them on these coasters here. Just gave me an opportunity to use them. So what I did is I took a couple of these and I spray painted them. So I have one here that's gold, and I just used, I'll show you, I used this spray, metal spray here, metallic spray, and I sprayed both sides of it with this. And so that's the gold. I'm going to use the gold on the pink, and I also made a silver. So here, and the same thing, same product, just in silver. I used for the silver, and again sprayed both sides, and that's what I'm going to be using on here. Now I did this on a test, and I had two of each of these coasters. I had 2 pinks and 2 blues, so I did do a test, and I'll show you guys those ones later of this whole technique I tested earlier. So for the earlier test, what I did is I just spray painted them, and that was it. Like, I didn't do anything else from that in terms of sealing it. I just spray painted it, and that was it. And I did find that there was a bit of an issue. We'll talk about that again. We'll talk about that later. But what I did for these ones is I spray painted them, and I also sealed them. So I used this sealer. It's a acrylic lacquer clear coat, and I used this to seal. So basically a couple sprays. So hopefully I won't have the same issues that I had in the other ones that I did. So it was nothing major, but it was enough of an issue that I wanted to make sure I sealed these ones. So I have a backup set here, but I can put those away for now. So what I did with these is I want to kind of just get them glued down onto our coasters. So I'm going to be using my gloss varnish for this. So this here is what I'm going to use. And I also want to put a little bit of glitter on them just to kind of give them a bit of sparkle. You definitely don't need to, but I will be doing that. So let me grab those. I'll be right back. Okay, so I have my gloss varnish here. Just put a little bit in this cup, and we're just going to kind of lay it out where we want. Now we are doing something else on this side, so I want to offset them over here, and we're just going to go ahead and kind of basically paint them down. Now I did find when I painted the leaves, so when I first spray painted them with the gold and the silver, they looked really shiny and beautiful, and then when I went ahead and added the clear lacquer on top, it did kind of dull the shine a little bit. So just keep that in mind. I don't know what to do about that because I think it's necessary to seal them. So I think we kind of have to compromise on that. But maybe if you know of another way to do it where it doesn't cause that issue, then we can definitely just definitely leave it in the comments. Like any suggestions or recommendations you guys have for certain things like that, just put it in the comments. And I know a lot of people go through the comments and read other people's suggestions and things. So if you have any helpful tips on that, for sure, put it in the description. Oh, sorry, in the comments. So we'll come back and we'll flatten this out. So the gloss varnish is going to kind of soften the leaf a little bit, and then we can come back and make sure it's flat. So we'll just go ahead and put that down. And we want to try to flatten it as much as possible because we don't want any air pockets, or try to minimize the air pockets. So this way when we're pouring resin later on top, we're not having to deal with too many, issues with air. All right, so now that we have our leaves kind of glued down, what I'm going to do is I want to add just a little bit of glitter. I mean, you can definitely skip this step if you want the more, I guess, more of a natural, non-glittery look. I'm just going to be adding some superfine glitter. So this is Larissa's Superfine Iridescent. So you can see it's really tiny. It's not really, it's not chunky in any kind of way where it's going to be standing out. It's just going to add a bit of shimmer to it. So, so we're going to add that to the leftover gloss varnish that I had in this cup. All right, so just a little bit like that. And I'm just going to quickly kind of brush it really lightly over the leaves. And once it dries, like I said, it's just going to add a little, excuse me, a little bit of sparkle. All right, so same thing on the silver, almost done here. And like I said, it's very light. It's because it's wet, because the varnish is wet right now, you're not going to really see it. And even once it's dry, it's just going to it's going to be subtly there, and we're still going to be able to see, all the details in the leaves, and which is what we want. That's why we don't want to add a thicker glitter on here, because we still want to see all those really nice details in the leaves. Okay, so now that we have that, the next thing I want to do is I want to add a bit of detailing here. So again, if you saw my last couple of videos, you saw that I was using this transfer foil. If you saw the Starburst coasters video, you'll recognize that, this is the design that I was putting on all those coasters, and that there was kind of areas around that are just kind of left over that didn't get fully used. So we're going to be trying to use that up. And then even for last week's video, the purse video, same thing. We used this, but you can see that it didn't really get fully kind of used up. So we're going to see if we can kind of use a bit more of it before we toss these. So, and those products are, well, there's two. There's the square ones, the little silver square ones are from the Pebeo gilding kit. And I put the other one here, and this is the gold, the DecoFoil. So any of those types of materials, if you want to use them, both of these brands have them. So what we're going to do is, like I said, we're going to be, again, using this is the glue for the transfer foil. I do have another one. Again, I mentioned it last week. I do have one that's meant for gold leaf gilding, which I believe would work just as well. But I've been using this, and I want to finish up this tube. It's not going to finish today, but I just want to keep using it because once you've opened these, it's a glue. Because it's a glue type of material, you do want to use it up at some point, before it all starts to harden. Like you could even see just now, like the area here was a bit thicker. It's starting to harden. So we want to try to use up these products within a couple weeks of opening them. So this way, we don't have any, waste. We're not basically wasting the product because it's going to harden. So all I'm going to do here is I want to add some texture to this side of the coaster here. And I want to, so I'm just using my brush and just basically kind of stippling. You could use other tools for this too. You could use little sponges. Last week I used a paper towel. So anything you have that you want to use, you can do that. I'm using the brush today because it's going to give me a little bit more control where I want this glue to go, because I don't want the glue to overlap my leaf at all. I just want it to kind of frame it. So we're going to go around like so. And it's okay to have some thicker areas in terms of how the glue is sitting, because that actually helps gives a bit of texture as well. So we're going to go ahead and do this. So I'll show you in a second. I'll be done here. What it looks like closer up. So like I said, the areas that look thicker, like the glue is more white. It will dry transparent, but for right now, as we're applying it, you can see some areas are heavier with the white, and then others are thinner, and that's okay because that's going to help give us a bit of the texture that we're looking for here as well. I'm just going to clean up my mess along the edges, like so. All right, so let's take a quick look at what this looks like. And I want it to kind of look rough looking. I don't want it to be perfect. So I'm trying to see if I can get the edges to be a little bit rougher looking as well. We don't want it to be a straight line going across. So, all right, so this is what the glue looks like. Okay, so we're going to now leave that one to dry. It'll take about 30 minutes or so. I'll do the other one in the meantime, and I'll be back. Okay, so now I have both of our coasters kind of glued and ready to, well, not ready. They're going to need to dry for about 30 minutes. I wanted to quickly discuss what we're going to do with the rest of this after that. So the one thing I wanted to mention is, yes, we have the issue of the sides being a different color. I mean, in this case, it's actually not that bad because the gold of the leaf actually kind of matches this, so it wouldn't be too much of an issue. And probably even the same with this one. So if you like the darker edges, you could definitely leave, you know, not be concerned about that at all, because we have the back and we have the sides that are going to be those different colors. And it does look kind of neat. So I'm not overly concerned about it. But what I plan to do is once we get our, you know, gold and our silver added to this and everything is dry, we will top coat. And then once it's done top coating, I'll probably do 2 top coats, one just to kind of seal it and another one to give us that nice domed effect. And I will be likely painting the edges. So that will actually cover any of this that's happening. So if, let's say, you have a failed pour and you want to do a technique like this over it, yeah, I mean, the bottom, you can decide how you want to deal with that. If you want to, you know, put a piece of cork, if you want to cover it, or to me, the bottoms don't usually, it's not too much of an issue. And I don't find my customers find it too much of an issue if the bottom is different than the design on the top. But let's say, you know, so let's say you had a pour and you really don't like how the resin looked in the pour, the colors, or how that, you know, how they blended together or anything like that. You could do something like this over that. And then, like I said, paint the edges. So now from the side and from the top, it, you know, you would never know about, you know, that something was wrong with the coaster. And I think that's an important thing to think about when we work with resin, because resin is expensive and all the materials that we use is expensive. So if we can find ways, as long as the actual surface of the resin isn't damaged and everything is curing properly, I don't feel like there's any reason why we couldn't find ways to still use our fails or repurpose them, or to you know, redesign them in a way. So again, this was not a design I was planning this week, but it just kind of happened because I wanted to figure out how to salvage these coasters. Anyways, I'm going to let these dry for another 20 minutes or so, and I'll be back to add our foil. Okay, I'm back. It hasn't been 30 minutes yet. As you can see, the glue is still not fully dried. But what I was I was kind of discussing earlier, that something had happened when I glued down my leaves. It's happening again, even though I sealed them. So maybe I needed to seal them more. I sealed them twice. So maybe I need to seal them more, or maybe it's just the reaction of the gloss varnish with the paint. I'm not really sure. But what's happening, and if you can see this leaf was silver, like very silver. Let's see if I can grab the other one. So it was like this. But now that I've put it down on this, you know, on the coaster, and I put the gloss varnish on it, it is kind of like, it's like the paint's wearing off, and you can see the original brown color starting to peek through. I mean, it doesn't look terrible, and especially on this pink one, it doesn't look terrible. It's a bit more noticeable on the gray. I don't care for that very much, so I am going to do what I did on the other coasters. So I'll show you guys what I did there. I'm sure there are ways to avoid this from happening, but since we're already here in the tutorial and it's already happening, let's just fix it. So what I did with the other one is I took a bit of my gloss varnish and I took a bit of silver mica powder. So this is the silver. And again, I'm not saying that, you know, this looks terrible. If you like how this looks and you actually don't mind the kind of patinaed look on the leaves, then for sure you can leave this exactly how it is. For me personally, I kind of wanted it to look, you know, silver. So I'm just gonna do this. And it doesn't look bad on the other coasters that I did, so I'll just show you guys how I did it. So I just mixed a tiny bit of the silver. This is like a, unfortunately this brand doesn't exist anymore. It's the Daniel Baresi metallic silver powder, but this is basically just, oh gosh, it's just a silver powder. So if you have any other silvers, I think Black Diamond has a silver, Mayspring has a silver, so any of those should work. And I did the same thing with the gold. So this is the gold that I'm using, but again, there's many different types of golds out there, so just find one that you like. So I'm just going to take a bit of this and kind of paint over. And unfortunately, we're going to lose the pretty iridescent glitter that we put on here, but I think it's okay for this. I mean, like I said, the way that this looks, I mean, these are two different options of how you can use these leaves. So obviously, if you, again, like the look and you really want to have, you know, the skeleton leaf look, and you want the veins showing fully, you know, being transparent, then you can leave it the way it was. But like, this is going to still show all the detailing, but it's just not going to, it's not going to be transparent anymore. So it's going to be solid silver leaf. So it's going to have a different look to it, but like I said, for me at the moment, I really want the silver. So I'm going to do it this way. All right, so we're just going to go ahead, and we're not putting it on super thick, like we've mixed it very thin. So this way, as it dries, we're still going to get a lot of that detailing. It's just no longer going to be transparent. So I'm going to do the same thing with the gold. And again, I just use this one here. So I'm going to do that really quick and I'll be back. Okay, so we're just about done here with the gold. It actually gives it, once it's dry, it's going to give it kind of a gilded look, which is pretty much what we're doing with the other side anyway, with the foil side. So it's going to kind of have a similar kind of look. Now I want to quickly show you how to add the foil. I mean, we're almost fully dry here with our glue. So let's just go ahead and do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, for this one, I'm going to take the gold, and it's okay that it's, you know, there's gaps, because we're just going to go over it a few times. So I have that. Pick another spot, rub it down, and do it again. So we'll just kind of keep trying to find areas on our foil that we can kind of do that with. So So like I said, this is a great way to kind of use up, you know, any of those little gaps that we missed on our, that we, you know, didn't get used on our previous projects, and we're not feeling like we're throwing away foil that could, you know, has a bit more life in it. trying not to touch the, the gold paint right now. So we have that. So, all right, so I'll show you quickly how that looks. It looks pretty neat. So there we go. So that one. So I'll quickly do the silver so you can see how those turned out there. There. Yeah, so I think they still look nice. So what we're going to do now is we're going to let them dry. The glue here should be pretty much dry now anyway, but the leaves, because I just painted them, those probably take another hour, and then I'll go ahead and top coat them. So I'll do a quick time lapse. I'm not going to go into too much detail of how to top coat and all that stuff because I've done that in so many of my videos, but what I will do is I'll link a couple in the description. So you can kind of see the process of putting liquid latex on the bottom and then doing the flood coats and top coats on top of that. And then also, if I get around to it, painting the edge. But for now, we're going to go ahead and just leave these to dry, and I'll time lapse the rest of the process that I'm going to be doing. Link in the description, and we'll be back. Okay, so we're back, and now we have our coasters. They are pretty much done. So this is our silver, and I did 2 top coats. I did one where I just kind of just to cover and seal everything, and then the second one was more of a dome. So you can see how it looks. I think they turned out really cute, and actually you don't really see much of those. Remember those acrylic paint lines I had on the base when I painted it? Those are kind of gone now too. Like they kind of, I mean, they're there. If you really look hard, you probably could see it, but it's really not. And even if it was showing, I actually think I would have liked the look too. So in any case, so that is definitely an option to just use acrylic paint and even just paint your coasters a base color, because it just really does blend in and look really nice and polished once it's sealed up in resin. And there's our gold one. I really like how these leaves ended up turning out too, with that gold mica powder on top, because it looks like it's been like gold gilded. Is that right? Yeah, gold gilded and silver. Like it looks like it was meant to be like that. So I really like how those turned out. And I kept these ones unfinished so that you could see the sides. So obviously it would have needed to be cleaned up if I was planning to keep the sides unpainted, but because I am painting them, I wasn't so worried about it. But so those of you who want to see, this is the back. This was the original color that we got from the acrylic paint that we put in the resin, and then this was the finish piece on top. So I am painting them, and that's what's going on with these two. I just did it, so they're not dry, anywhere near dry yet, but oh, see, I just touched the silver one. I'll wipe my finger. There we go. Anyway, so you can see how they look with the gold edging there. So they look really nice with the gold edging. I really like that finished look with the gold edges on those. And see, we can grab the silver one without messing it up. So, and that's the silver. And again, I really like the finished look of that. So now the bottom still has the original color, but everything else now is looking really nice. So there we go. So this, like I said, this was an unexpected tutorial, but I think it was really helpful, even for myself, to know that, I can paint, if I have a coaster that didn't pour well, I can just paint it with acrylic paint, add some designs on top, and it turns out looking beautiful and just like I intended from the beginning. So, but anyway, so that's that. I will be finishing up these with paint as well. I just wanted to show you the difference because it does look nice without the edges as well. But I do want to add them just to kind of finish them off in this case. So if you had planned to make this design and you want unfinished edges, then you can just decide how you want to deal with the sides. And it doesn't even look bad, to be honest. I mean, like I said, if I had been more careful when I was painting to not kind of drip over the edges, I think, even just this looks, having a darker edge looks nice with the coaster. So anyways, I did promise that I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about the acrylic paint as well. So as you know, the paints that I used in the beginning of the video for the bases of these, so this pink and this gray, were these two colors, and they didn't end up matching once we put them in resin. And that's the reason why we started this whole video. But I did end up doing a little bit more testing, and obviously I still would have to do quite a bit more, but I did test some other paints, and these are some of the swatches that I created from them. And these were all made of Liquitex Basics paints. So we have, let's just make that. So we have these ones. So you can see the coloring is almost exact. So that's the green. This was the pink. It went, I think this is the right one. I might have another one over there, but I did end up mixing some of the colors. So I think that might have gone a little bit darker. This was the purple. Again, maybe a little bit darker. The green is here, and a darker pink. So it does look like they went a little bit darker, but it seems like they're much closer to the original. So it seems like it's a little bit hit and miss. I also did try this one here, which is Martha Stewart's. Does she still make these? I don't know. But this was an old one I had kind of sitting around. But so Martha Stewart's metallic. And so the color, if I can open it, is, you can see it. It's similar. Again, it's a bit off. So I think it just really depends on the paint and how it's, you know, what's, I guess, how it's made or, you know, what elements are in it and how well it's going to pigment the resin. Like I said, it doesn't look like we're going to get 100% accuracy with what we see in the bottle to what we're seeing in resin, but these I feel were a lot closer than the DecoArt ones. And again, I'm not trying to bash DecoArt at all, so you can see how different those are. I'm not trying to bash. Like I said, these colors are absolutely gorgeous, and obviously we created these coasters, you know, by painting them. We created with these paints. So again, so that would be the alternative. It just, the reason why I want to talk to you guys about it is just to maybe save you that step that I went through, where I poured it and then realized the color was completely off. And luckily, like I said, luckily I was just doing tests, so I could easily go ahead and try to find ways to fix that. But I don't want you guys trying to create, you know, maybe a very important project with using these acrylic colors and they just don't work out for you. So just to kind of give you a heads up, like doing tests like these in the, you know, something small is a great way to know how your colors are going to turn out too. So let's say you get a batch of new color of acrylic paints and you want to know how they're going to look in resin. You know, do some little swatches like this in resin, let it cure, and then you'll know exactly what you're going to get. So anyways, I hope that was helpful. And I hope the tutorial in general was helpful for you guys, that not only in terms of the acrylic paint aspect of it with resin, but also how to possibly fix, you know, something that you've made that, you know, hope, you know, so instead of having to throw it out or feel like, you know, it was just a complete fail, hope, you know, maybe we can try to experiment with more ways to, you know, cover that. Or I know, like I said, some people, what they'll do is just re-pour right on top of it. So I've seen some people who have coasters they don't like, and they actually just do an acrylic pour right on top. So that's similar to what we did here, but we just painted it with a paintbrush instead of just doing a full acrylic pour. So that's another option too. You can do that as well. In this case, I think now that we know that the brush strokes are really not going to show that much, we don't need to do a full pour. We can just brush it on thin and it's going to look great. So, and again, adding some really cool elements with these leaves and using up our foils, kind of giving those a bit of an extended life as well. I think we did a lot here in this video to kind of show how we can utilize and reutilize a lot of the things that we have made, or just, you know, tools and supplies that we have. So anyways, guys, I'm going to get going. Thank you so much for watching to the end of the video, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you learned a lot. If so, let me know in the comments. What tips did you like? What tips do you think maybe you have better suggestions for? Or just in general, like what kind of things have you done to kind of save you know, any of the pieces that you've made with resin. Any other good tips out there? Because like I said, a lot of people are reading the comments and they could be helpful to other people as well as me. So anyways, thank you again for everyone who's sharing and following and subscribing and coffees and donations and buying off the website. Thank you guys so much. Again, I do have a mailing list, so if you want to know the new items that are coming up in the shop, get on that list. You can just, when you go to my website, you should get a little pop-up there that's going to allow you to sign up. If that doesn't work, you just go to my beacons link that's in the description under this video, and that's going to take you there. It's one of the options is for the mailing list as well. So anyways, guys, take care. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Thanks. Bye.